Top 11 Favorite British TV Shows. Hello there. The other day I was watching a YouTube video of someone's top 10 TV shows and they split them up into British and American ones. Since talent borrows and genius steals, I thought I'd rip the idea off wholesale and do my own version, because why not? British TV was the best in the world up to and including the 1980s, and while things have evened out these days, with both British and American TV being largely crap, lol, it still makes sense to give more shows the chance to shine by splitting them up. Honorable mentions go to Jonathan Creek, Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads, which I have literally only just discovered this year and it's freaking great, Spooks, and many more. Top 11 Favorite British TV Shows. 11. One Foot in the Grave. This British comedy series ran for 6 seasons and 7 Christmas specials from 1990 to 2000. It focused on Victor Meldrew, played by the fantastic Richard Wilson, and his wife Margaret, played by the inimitable Annette Crosbie. Victor is an older man forced into early retirement who does not take the move gladly as it just gives him more time to find that the world around him really is incredibly bloody irritating. One Foot in the Grave sounds like your average British middle-class comedy but for its often very dark and macabre sense of humour, which makes the show far more subversive than you might think, and is a comedy classic. 10. Drop the Dead Donkey. This newsroom comedy series ran for 6 seasons from 1990 to 1998 and focused on the staff of Globelink News, a TV company bought out by a mad billionaire who immediately sends the place down market into the worst kind of gutter journalism, which some staff members are more resistant to than others. A fantastic ensemble comedy series, the show initially made great play of its topicality, a novelty that was played down more as the series went on in favor of centering on its group of dysfunctional and often despicable, yet oddly lovable, characters. Drop the Dead Donkey remains a perennial favorite in my house. 9. The Young Ones. This early to mid-80s comedy lasted just 2 seasons, but had a profound effect on British comedy, making comedy legends out of its stars and remains a cult classic more than 30 years later. Ostensibly focusing on a disparate group of caricatured youths sharing a flat, the series was surreal, bonkers, violent, subversive, in-your-face, and completely unlike any British comedy series to this point. 8. Red Dwarf. The cult comedy series has lasted for 30 years, beginning in 1988 and airing its most recent, 12th season, just last year. The adventures of a motley crew including the last human being alive, a hologram of a dead man, a humanoid cat, a mad robot and a senile computer, Red Dwarf has generated a massive cult following and remains a perpetually entertaining show. 7. The Bill, 1984 to 2001. The iconic British police drama is on this list, but only for its first 17 seasons. Let us not talk about what happened to the series in the 2000s under the aegis of the Cuntmeister General, Paul Marquis, who turned a respectable drama into a ludicrous joke. I tried to forget any of that shit ever happened. The Bill started life as a standard 12-episode-a-season series in 1984, focusing on day-to-day police drama in a realistic format, but after 3 seasons of hour episodes, British network ITV decided to take the notion and turn it into a twice-weekly half-hour drama that ran all year round in a manner previously reserved only for soap operas. Despite this new format, however, The Bill retained its focus on everyday policing and rarely focused on the characters' private lives unless they came into conflict with their duties as police officers. The series ran for 10 years in this format, before returning to a 1-hour format, albeit still shown all year round, in 1998. In late 2000 a cast clear-out proved a major misstep, resulting in a 2001 season that was fairly disappointing, particularly in comparison to the extremely strong seasons it was following, and that disappointment sadly resulted in the wholesale revisionist slaughter of the series' entire structure after that. the show finally being put out of its misery in 2010 as a pale shadow of its glory days. The bill created a wide array of iconic and long-standing characters including Sergeant Bob Cryer, PC and later Sergeant June Ackland, D.S. Ted Roach, D.S. John Bolton, the notorious D.S. Don Beach, everyone's favorite corrupt cop, and the infamous D.I. and later D.C.I. Frank Burnside, played by the legendary Christopher Ellison. I remain a big fan of the first 17 seasons of this show, and as great as the early years with Burnside and Roach are, my favorite period is actually from 1995 to late 2000, otherwise known as the Beach era. Classic stuff. 6. Blackadder. As with the young ones, Blackadder was among the first wave of the so-called alternative comedy troupe that shook up British comedy in the 80s, putting despicable characters in wildly ridiculous comic situations that mixed slapstick, wit, wordplay and wickedly dark humour. Blackadder focuses on various members of the Blackadder family throughout various times of British history up to World War I, the members of which are always played by British comedy legend Rowan Atkinson. The series ran for 4 seasons, 1 Christmas special and 1 Latter-day special. Forget Mr. Bean, Blackadder is where it's at, folks. 5. Press Gang. This legendary British teen comedy drama series, which won a BAFTA award for Best Children's Drama, ran for 5 seasons from 1989 to 1993 and managed to win as high an adult audience as a youthful one. Focusing on the staff of the Junior Gazette, a youth newspaper not only aimed at but run by local youth, the series mixed comedy, romance, with much of the series focused on the will they, won't they and on and off romance between the spectacularly fiery editor Linda Day, played by the spectacular Julius Awalha, and smart-ass American reporter Spike Thompson, played by Dexter Fletcher. The series did not flinch from very adult issues and situations, including teen suicide, child abuse, drug abuse and the gun control issue. The series was completely written by future modern Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat, and launched his career in British television, but don't hold that against it. I try not to. 4. Taggart, with Mark McManus. I've already done a full video on this iconic Scottish crime thriller show, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much. Taggart ran from 1983 to 2010, but the show on this list is the one that ran from 1983 to 1995 and starred Mark McManus as the title character, not the one that unwisely carried on after the actor's sad demise and ultimately died as a pale shadow of its former self, though, to be fair, it never got quite as shit as the bill did in its latter years. But the Taggart is one of the grittiest, grimmest and just plain nastiest murder mystery thriller cop shows ever made, and remains a firm favorite. 3. The Avengers, including the new Avengers. No, nothing to do with fucking Marvel. The Avengers is an iconic British spy series that increasingly headed into science fiction and just plain surreal territory as it went on. Beginning in 1961 as a straightforward spy thriller show, the show hit the big time when one of its 2 male leads, Ian Hendry, left after the first season and remaining star Patrick Macnee was paired with a tough female partner, Cathy Gale, played by Honor Blackman. When she left the series, to be replaced by Emma Peel, played by Diana Rigg, the show became even more popular. Rigg's arrival also coincided with both an increase in production values, with the show moving from the videotaped format used by most other British shows of the time into being much more glossily made on film thanks to overseas money, and then into colour as well the year after, several years prior to British TV adopting colour TV en masse, as well as the show's plotting taking the series into increasingly stylized, far-fetched and weirder territory. The final 60s season, the 6th, saw Rigg departing to be replaced by Tara King, played by Linda Thorson, a much younger and inexperienced agent who has a more student-professor relationship with Steed than was the case with her predecessors. The Tara season, and Tara herself comes in for a lot of stick and in some cases even downright hate from some fans, but fuck them I say. The series was briefly revived for 2 seasons in the mid to late 70s, rebranded as The New Avengers, again starring Patrick Macnee but this time accompanied by 2 sidekicks, Purdy, played by Joanna Lumley, who became an icon herself, and a younger man, Mike Gambit, played by Gareth Hunt. The New Avengers tried to place itself more back in the real world of the 70s than the increasingly bizarre fantasy world that the later 60s seasons lived so wonderfully in, though still maintained an edge of science fiction strangeness on occasion. I fucking love the Avengers. The first time I saw an episode was actually in the early 90s at a Doctor Who fan club. I think it was the series 5 episode with the big car race treasure hunt thing. The name escapes me at present, but it wasn't until the mid-90s that I really started to become a fan when I found a number of volumes of the VHS releases, which generally paired one black and white rig episode with one color one, at my local video shop. I quickly fell in love with the show, but by God it was hard to find them. It took until a few years ago to even finally get to see both all of the Black and White Rig season and the Tara season, which I'd previously seen just 2 episodes of on VHS, Game and They Keep Killing Steed. And you know what? I like Tara just fine, and season 6, to me, is every bit as good as the previous 2 in terms of stories and just sheer entertainment value. Seasons 4 to 6 are my favorite, followed by The New Avengers. Though I must admit I found the early seasons, not that there's much left of season 1 of course, in a Doctor Who missing episode-like situation, a little difficult to get into. But this is an iconic, classic show. Oh, and fuck any attempts at rebooting it, including the awful late 90s movie. To misquote from the Avengers dossier book from the 1990s, The Avengers stars Patrick Macnee as John Steed, and fuck anything else. 2. Callan. Callan is a show that I discovered just recently in 2014, and having watched it twice over the whole way through since then, has shot from nowhere to become my second favorite British show of all time. Running for 4 seasons from 1967 to 72, Callan stars Edward Woodward as David Callan, a professional spy and professional, albeit somewhat reluctant, killer working for the British Security Services. Fantastically written and acted with a first-class supporting cast including the fantastic Russell Hunter, Anthony Valentine, Patrick Moore and William Squire. I cannot recommend this gritty and dark British spy thriller series enough. 1. Doctor Who, the original series. You probably guessed this one, and yes, I had to put in the qualifier, because I am talking about the original series and not the 21st century joke televised fanfiction extended parody version. Sorry if that causes butthurt. But yeah, the original series of Doctor Who is the best science fiction series of all time, and the best British show of all time. Running for 26 years with 7 different lead actors, Doctor Who is a legend for the ages, and if you want to hear me talk about it more, well, just take a look at my channel. And that's it folks. My top 11 favorite British TV shows of all time. And yes, there will be a US one at some point. Cheers.